Hey folks, Mitch with Rideshare Dashboard, and I'm going to talk to you about Lyft and new pay rates. So, for those of you who don't know already, Lyft decided to go ahead and do something positive for us and they implemented a new pay where when we go to pick a passenger up, as soon as we accept it and we're en route to pick them up, we start getting paid. That is awesome. Now we can get paid on those longer runs. No. You're probably thinking, wait, what? Why is that not good? Here's the problem. When they did that, my old rate was 66 cents a per mile in Minneapolis. Now, when I'm going to pick somebody up, I get 33 cents, which sounds great until you realize once I pick them up, I still only get 33 cents a mile. So it doesn't matter if I'm on my way to pick them up or I picked them up and I'm taking them somewhere, I'm getting 33 cents per mile. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, but if you're on your way to pick them up, you know you can make some more. Well, here's the problem. Typically, a lot of times you're driving 5 to 10 miles to pick somebody up around the cities. Rarely do you get something within just a few miles. So, which isn't a problem for me. I understand that. I know how the cities work. You know, you don't necessarily live right where you work, and I get that. But the issue that I have is coming from the fact that I can drive 10 miles to pick them up at 33 cents a mile, take them 2 miles, drop them up at 33 cents a mile. I can drive 2 miles to pick them up and take them 10 miles, still at 33 cents a mile. So it doesn't matter what kind of driving I'm doing, I'm only making 33 cents a mile. So since you split that in half, I'm not really profiting much. Now, the numbers I look at, and I'd like to see them do, is they can do $1.50 base fare. Alright, that's fine. For all I care, Lyft can keep that booking or base fare. You know, that can be there. Somebody clicks, wants a ride, okay, fine, whatever. Lyft gets $1.50. From there, I feel that there should be a federal minimum implementation that minimum pay wage has to be equal to the deductible amount per the IRS. In this case, 54.5 cents. Now, that's federal, not state. So, I know for a fact I'll make at least 54.5 no matter where I drive. That should be based around with a passenger in the car. Now, on my way to pick a passenger up, alright, you might have to eat that. That's something I don't necessarily think should be put into effect by a legal standard, but it is appreciated. And we'll talk about that number where I still feel that should come in. But that's a federal number. Then it should be based on your state. So the minimum is 54.5. Driving in Minnesota, I'd like to see at least 80 cents per mile, and I'd like to see in Wisconsin at least maybe 75 cents per mile. Those would be kind of like state minimum. So it might differ from state to state, but it's based on cost of living, specific marketing region. So like Minneapolis might be a little bit 10 cents more than just the regular Minnesota itself. So there's little things like that that I'd really like to see implemented. Now, I did mention they're driving to a passenger. So as soon as you hit accept. And in that instance, I would like to see at least 25 cents per mile. And then they should still pay the 20 cents per minute. And except for once you go over the 5-minute wait time, that should be 25 cents per minute that you're sitting there waiting, because you're not driving making money. So 4 minutes is $1. It doesn't seem like a lot until you realize 12 minutes is $3. I mean, you could still make minimum wage that way. So hey, if people want to take their time, and it would encourage passengers to kind of hurry up a little bit. So those are my theories on numbers, and I also feel that there should be a cap on how much they can take. And I feel that the maximum that the rideshare company should be allowed to take is 20%. That's the maximum. Now, in market regions, it may be less, it may be more. So in areas where you have more strict state guidelines for rideshare driving, I could understand where there's more associated costs, such as mandatory background checks, which I know they have anyways, but they're more extensive. They do a lot more, so it requires a lot more. You have to take a driver knowledge test from Minneapolis. You have to get a vehicle inspection. Because of those, I can understand where Uber and Lyft and other rideshare programs might want that 20% versus Wisconsin, was a little bit more lenient, might be more at a 10 to 15% range. So like I said, the cost associated with being in that area might affect that, but again, a 20% cap. The problem is though, right now they're taking sometimes 20 to 50 to sometimes even 60%. There's people that have said they've taken 70% of their wages. And here's the thing. So not only are we putting the miles on our vehicle for depreciation, we're also responsible for the oil changes, the cleanliness, the maintenance. If somebody pukes in your car, you're out of work for the night. I mean, even if you collect your $150 fee or whatever, the fact of the matter is that they're still logging you off that platform for an entire night. So, I mean, if it's your last passenger of the night, okay, you might be all right a little bit. Well, what if it happens early on in your shift and all of a sudden, boom, you can't work the rest of the night? Yeah, sure, you get a $150 cleaning fee, but that goes to clean your vehicle. You still lost $150 for that entire night. So that's where I'm saying we're doing all of this stuff with our own vehicles, and yet they're taking upwards of sometimes 50 to 70% of what we make. I'm like, how exactly is that working out? And then in addition to, there's been reports where rider apps will be in surge. So the rider will be paying a premium. However, the drivers aren't in a surge area on the driver app. So while the passengers are paying a premium surge pricing, the drivers are not seeing that, nor are they being allowed to collect on that. And that's making a dent into the amount of money we make. Now, I understand that there's a lot of drivers. So let's be honest, the markets are flooded with drivers. And I don't feel there's enough riders in a lot of these markets to sustain the amount of drivers. At least not in a profitability aspect, especially if you just want to do this full time. And that's where I say, where you start to get into being a little bit more strict is, well, first you got to be fair. You're going to want people that are full time, so there really should be incentives. Now I know Uber has you start out blue, you can go to gold and silver and all this stuff, and that's the thing too, is the more hours you drive or maintain per month should increase the amount that you make. So the more you drive, the more you make. And by that I mean you start out, let's just say you start out at the minimum of, let's just say Wisconsin, 75 cents a mile. So you start out at 75 cents a mile. As long as you maintain a minimum of, let's say 40, 80, 160 hours a month would be full-time, 40 hours. So let's just say 150 hours a month. That's just under full-time, but be still in the full-time range. 150 hours a month. And you do that as long as you're able to average that over the course of the last 90 days. So and that's obviously a rolling calendar. So as long as your past 90 days stay within 150, you can promote up into the gold. And then you continue that, and you keep that going for a total of an additional 3 months. Then you can move up into like a silver, and then and every time you move up, you can have the opportunity to earn an extra 10 cents. So you can start out at 75 cents. Then as you move up, all of a sudden now you're hitting 85. You move up again, now you're hitting 95. And then you can max out at $1.05 per mile. And the reason I say that is the more you're driving, you're learning the city, you're learning the venues, you're learning the hot spots. That's going to allow you to provide better service to those that are getting in your car when they say, yeah, we're from we're come flying in here to Minneapolis. We're here to check out the Twin Cities. We're just here for a week on business. But if you know any great places to check out, because you're driving so much, you're starting to learn different areas. You can make those recommendations, and that's going to increase repeat business. But the catch on that too is, what about part-time drivers? Now, part-time drivers should have the opportunity to average, let's say 20, 40, 60, 80. So they'd have to average around, we'll just say 90 hours per month. However, instead of gaining 10 cents per level. They can gain 5, but they would max out at let's just say 90 cents per mile, where doing it full time you can build yourself up to $1.05. So if you're actually out there trying to go ahead and make a living, you have that opportunity to build up. It's just like with any other company that you work for. If you go in there after 90 days, you might get a raise, then at 6 months, then at 1 year, then at maybe 1.5, maybe 2, then 3, then 4. As you continue to become more experienced, you have that ability to gain an increase in wage. Now, I'm not talking about changing the base fares and all that as you move up, just strictly the per mile rate. And the thing is there's a lot of people out there that will sit there and say, hey, you know what, even if you paid the same amount as a taxi cab, or even slightly higher, I would still take an Uber or Lyft. And the reason why is the convenience. I've had people get in my car and tell me they've called 3 different taxi cabs, and every single one of them went to voicemail. People that have talked to asked for a cab, they said, yeah, they'll be right there in about 10 minutes. It's 30, 40 minutes later, and they said, well, I don't know where the hell the cab is, let's just call an Uber. Unfortunately, some of these taxi cabs, especially in the smaller towns, are falling apart. I know the ones in Menomonie that I've seen, and some of the ones in Eau Claire, and I don't know if they're based right out of there or they're passing through or what they're doing, so don't take it that way, but I've seen them duct taped together. And as Uber and Lyft drivers, we're still responsible to obey the law, but I don't know how many taxi cabs I see pull right into the handicapped spots at gas stations all the time. Now, with that being said, I'm not trying to bash on cabs because, they've been around for a while, but unfortunately there's been that decline. Yet, people are preferring rideshare over taxi cab services for a reason. And even if, our rates were that equal, we are providing better service because our cars are cleaner. The app goes to the nearest driver, so you don't have to, and the thing is if you're in a loud environment like a club or whatever, when you hit that on an app, you're not trying to talk on the phone. You're putting the address in on where you want to go. You're putting the address in on where you're being picked up at. And so if there's a mistake, it isn't the cab driver, it's the person who put the information into the app. So that's where I say, Lyft, with this new setup, a lot of people, what they're doing right now is they're either deactivating their accounts or they have actually gone to just not even using the app. They might do just enough to stay active, but they're primarily just driving with Uber. And already a lot of riders are even switching from Lyft over to Uber because they're seeing that Uber is getting more drivers than Lyft. And it's sad because honestly, I like the scheduled pickup option in the Lyft app. I've gotten a lot of business using that. I'll sit there and I can confirm the airport runs because typically that's what I'm getting, are scheduled airport runs. And I'm already like, hey, you know what? Boom, boom, boom. I got one at 3, 4, 5. I know that I've got time to knock every one of those out. And so, like I said, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the new rates. Leave it below in the comments, and go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell so that way you can stay updated. Feel free to check us out online at www.rideshare-.com. And if you want to sign up as either a rider or a driver, I do have promo codes for 3 different platforms out there. I've got promo codes for Uber, Lyft, and Trip. Now, I'll talk more about Trip in another video, but it is an up-and-coming option, and Minneapolis is one of the areas they're looking to start it in. So if you are wanting to sign up, go to the website, go ahead and click Drivers on the top, scroll down, there's some information on Trip and kind of what you can expect, and go ahead and hit that referral code, sign up. I know people are kind of sketchy on it, but here's the thing. You can create a free account. They're not going to ask for your credit card unless you want to upgrade and start using it, but I would at least sign up and get in on the ground floor. So I hope you guys have a great day, and please stay safe on the road.